Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I thought I would go through some of my most anticipated book releases for the second half of 2023. So I did make an anticipated releases video back in December last year. However, I realised recently that all of the books that I talked about in that video have either already been released or are being released in June. So I figured it was about time to talk about some books that I'm excited for the second half of this year. I've made a list on my phone of around 10 books. There might be slightly less or slightly more than that, but there's a mix of different genres as well. So I have a few contemporaries, a few thrillers, and a couple of fantasies as well. I will have all the release dates in the description based on UK release dates because I'm in the UK, but I've also tried to put these into some kind of order as I talk about them. But some of these books I kept finding conflicting release dates, and I think it's because there's possibly different release dates in the US versus the UK. But I thought I would start off with 0 Days by Ruth Ware, which I'm really excited for. I'm a little nervous about this one in particular though, even though I've loved Ruth Ware's books in the past, and I do tend to give her books 3 to 5 stars. I don't think I've had a Ruth Ware book yet that I haven't liked, but this sounds like it's gonna be more of an action thriller rather than a mystery, and I do tend to prefer Ruth Ware's quieter mysteries, but I do like the way that she writes atmosphere, so hopefully this will have that too. But this is described as a combination between Mr. and Mrs. Smith and The Fugitive, and it's about a woman whose husband has been murdered and the police suspect that she's responsible, so she goes on the run and she's trying to track down the real killer. I'm actually reading a Ruth Ware book at the moment, and I do consider her an author because I do tend to really love her books, and I find her really dependable as an author. Like, I know that even if I don't love a book by her, I'm at least gonna enjoy my time reading it, so very excited about this one. Next on my list is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang, and I don't know a lot about this, I'm gonna be honest. All I know is that it's written by the same author who wrote The Sword of Kaigan, which is one of my favourite books of this year so far. I read it right back in January and absolutely loved it, so I have been looking out for more books by this author, and this sounds cool. It's basically about a city where magic has made this city an industrial utopia, but magic has a cost and the collectors have come calling. That's the main tagline for the book. So it seems like we're following an orphan and she's trying to achieve the impossible, which is to become the first woman ever admitted to the High Magistracy. It sounds like there's going to be some kind of dark academia element, which sounds really intriguing, and if it's anything like The Sword of Kaigan, it's probably going to be quite emotional and it's going to make me cry, and I am ready for it. Next up we have another thriller, and that is Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. So Cara Hunter is the author of the D.I. Adam Fawley series, which is one of my favourite detective police procedural thrillers, and I am really excited to read a standalone from her. I think this is a standalone. It says here that it's a shocking thriller about a cold case, a fictional true crime series, and the family caught in the middle. Okay, so it seems like it's following this new TV series that's dedicated to investigating a famous cold case, and the production team and all the people involved in this show are re-examining witness statements and going through all of the evidence to see if they can finally bring the truth to light, and it sounds really intriguing. I do like books that have some kind of media link. Like, I love books that have some kind of podcast within them or that have a TV show within the story, so hoping that this is going to be as good as it sounds. Elizabeth Acevedo also has a new book coming out this year. It's called Family Law, and it's her first adult novel, which I'm really intrigued about because I've really enjoyed her YA books. I think she has a beautiful poetic writing style. I think this is told in prose rather than in verse, and I think it's gonna be really interesting. It's basically about this Dominican American family, and it's told through the voices of the women within this family. I think we follow various generations of this family, and it seems like they're all meeting for the first time in a while for a wake. I think we see timelines in the past and in the present, and it seems like some secrets might come to light. So very excited for this one. One of my favourite books of last year was Runtime by Catherine Ryan Howard, and she has a new book coming out in a few months. It's called The Trap, and it's about a young woman whose sister went missing the year before, and apparently her sister was the third Irish woman to vanish in as many years, and she decides to take matters into her own hands and set a trap to try and catch this killer. It looks like it's actually inspired by a series of real life disappearances in Ireland in the 1990s, and it sounds like it's going to be really tense. I've read a few books by this author, and I think she does a really good job of writing tension and suspense. So really excited about this one. I think we also might get the perspective of the killer, and then we also get the perspective of someone working within the police force. So very excited for this one. I don't know yet whether it's going to have some kind of multimedia element, because other books that I've read by this author have had that as well, and I've really enjoyed that too. Next on my radar is Happiness Falls by Angie Kim, who is the author of Miracle Creek, which I read back in 2019 before I started my booktube channel, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very emotional mystery, and it sounds like this is going to be quite similar, because it's about a father who goes missing, and it's about his family's desperate search to find him, but this search leads them to question everything they know about him and about each other. So it actually sounds a little bit like Everything I Never Told You by Laura Dave, I think was the author, which I read and I did like, but I wanted more from it, and I feel like Angie Kim is going to deliver the emotion. I am really excited for this one. It actually has the first line of the book within the Goodreads synopsis, so "We didn't call the police right away" is the first line of the book, and yeah, it's about a biracial Korean American family in Virginia whose lives are turned upside down when this man goes missing, and yeah, I think this is going to be really good. I have a good feeling about this, especially because it's been 4 years since Miracle Creek came out, and that was Angie Kim's debut. I'm just excited to experience Angie Kim's writing again, especially because it has been so long since Miracle Creek came out. I feel like it's going to be worth the wait. Next on my list is The Kill List by Nadine Matheson, which is book 3 in the Angelica Henley series. So this is a crime thriller series where each book is a companion novel, so you don't have to read the books in order unless you want to. I have read the first 2 books and I did really enjoy them. I thought they were a little bit too long though, because they were both around 500 pages, which is quite long for a crime thriller, but this is 400 pages. So this is about a man who's been behind bars for 25 years, but he's just been exonerated. So new DNA evidence proves he wasn't this serial killer 25 years ago. Then it seems like the actual serial killer might have started killing again. I'm not going to look too much into it because I feel like the synopsis, just from glancing over it, might be a little bit spoilery. I found that with the first book, where the synopsis gave away some information that I would have rather not known going into the book, so I'm gonna leave that there, but I am excited for this one. I really like the audiobooks for this series. I think the narrator does a fantastic job of making the characters feel human. From what I understand, the author was actually, or is, a criminal attorney, and I think that comes across in the writing. It feels very authentic, and I'd describe it more as a police procedural rather than a thriller, because there's thrilling elements, but it is more about the characters and it's more about the process of the investigation. Apparently this is her darkest, most adrenaline-fueled mystery yet, which is really intriguing. I feel like this is going to be the decider on whether I continue with this series, because I haven't given any of the books 5 stars yet, but I can see potential there. Next on my list is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake, which is the 3rd and I think final book in the Bright Falls series, which is a series that I love. I read the first 2 books last year and gave them both an easy 5 stars. They were 2 of my favourite romances of last year, and I am so excited that we're now getting Iris's book, because she was one of my favourite characters in the first 2 books. This is also a companion series, so you don't have to read the books in order unless you want to, and I would recommend doing that because the first 2 books were amazing, but this book follows Iris Kelly. She has this new career as a romance author. However, she poured all of her romantic energy into writing her debut, so she's now struggling with writer's block, but she decides to ignore this problem like she ignores all of her problems, and she goes out to this bar where she meets someone and has the worst one-night stand of her life. So to get over everything and to try and get past this writer's block, she decides to go and audition for a local play where she runs into this woman Stevie, who she had the one-night stand with, and Stevie asks her to pretend to be her girlfriend, so there's fake dating involved, which is a trope that I love, and yeah, I guess real feelings start to develop because it is a romance book, and I am so excited for this. You can guarantee that as soon as I have this book in my hands, I am going to be dropping everything to read it. If this isn't one of my favourite romance books of the year, I will not only be disappointed, but I will also be shocked. Now, I do also have The Wake Up Call by Beth O'Leary on my radar, but I'm not sure if I'm interested in this book anymore because I recently read The No-Show by Beth O'Leary and I was a little underwhelmed. However, I think I would have liked that book a lot more if I'd read it right when it came out. So if I do end up reading this, I'm gonna try and read it this year or early next year before the hype dies down. But this is about 2 sworn enemies, a failing hotel, and one chance to save the season. And I do love an enemies to lovers, so I might give it a go. It follows 2 main characters, Izzy and Lucas, and I guess they're trying to save a hotel that is quite literally falling apart. Might try and see if I can get this from my library when it comes out, and that way I don't have anything to lose if I do end up not really enjoying it. The final book on my list is a book that will come as no surprise to anyone if you've been on my channel for a while, because it is Bookshops and Bonedust by Travis Baldree, which is a prequel and a companion novel to Legends and Lattes, which was one of my favourite books of last year. It's like the perfect cozy fantasy, and I'm expecting Bookshops and Bonedust to give me those similar vibes, so very excited for this one. It follows our main character Viv, who's an orc that has taken a leave of absence from work, and she ends up helping out in a bookshop, I believe. I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of plot to do with saving this bookshop, but I am just so excited for all of the cozy vibes. I'm going to read this with a huge blanket in November or December when it comes out, and I'm just expecting it to be the perfect wintry read. Again, will be surprised if this isn't a favourite book of the year. That just brings me to the end of the video though, so thanks for watching. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments if you are excited for any of these books and if there's any books that are on your radar for the rest of the year. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye!